Story 1. A Plan Unfolds. In the quaint village of Eldoria, nestled between rolling hills and verdant meadows, lived a young woman named Arya. Eldoria was a place where everyone knew each other, and life flowed with a gentle rhythm. Arya, with her bright eyes and infectious smile, was beloved by all. Yet, despite the warmth of her community, she often felt a deep sense of uncertainty about her future. Arya's parents had passed away when she was a child, leaving her to be raised by her grandmother, Miriam. Miriam was a wise and nurturing woman who always told Arya, "Remember, my dear, God has a plan for you." These words provided comfort, yet Arya struggled to believe them fully, especially as she watched her friends discover their paths, some becoming farmers, others artisans, and a few traveling to distant towns to pursue their dreams. One summer evening, as the sun cast a golden hue over Eldoria, Arya wandered to her favorite spot by the river. The gentle murmur of the water had always been a source of solace. She sat on a large rock, staring at the shimmering surface, her mind a whirlpool of questions. "God, what is your plan for me?" she whispered into the twilight, her voice barely audible over the rustling leaves. The next day, the village received unexpected visitors, a group of travelers who had lost their way. Among them was an elderly man named Ezra, who had an air of quiet authority and wisdom. The villagers welcomed the travelers warmly, offering them food and shelter. Arya, intrigued by their stories of distant lands, spent hours listening to their tales. Ezra noticed Arya's keen interest and her restlessness. One evening, as the village gathered around a bonfire, he approached her. "You have a heart full of questions, young one," he said gently. "I can see the yearning in your eyes."
Arya nodded.
"I feel lost. Everyone around me seems to have found their place, but I don't know what my purpose is. My grandmother always says God has a plan for me, but I can't see it." Ezra smiled. "Sometimes, the plan is not immediately visible. It unfolds in ways we cannot predict. But every experience, every encounter, is a part of that plan. Tell me, what brings you joy?" Arya thought for a moment. "I love helping others. It brings me happiness to see someone smile because of something I've done." Ezra nodded thoughtfully. "Then start there. Often, our purpose is intertwined with what we love and what we are good at." Inspired by Ezra's words, Arya began to involve herself more in the village's activities. She helped care for the children, assisted the elderly with their chores, and tended to the community garden. Her acts of kindness did not go unnoticed. The villagers appreciated her efforts and often expressed their gratitude, which filled Arya with a sense of fulfillment she hadn't felt before. Months passed, and the travelers decided to move on, but Ezra left Arya with parting words that resonated deeply. "Remember, Arya, God's plan is like a tapestry. We see only a single thread at a time, but He sees the entire design. Trust in the journey, and you will find your place." One crisp autumn morning, a messenger arrived in Eldoria with news that the neighboring village of Marrow, struck by a severe illness, needed help. Without hesitation, Arya volunteered to assist, along with a few others. When they arrived, the sight was heartbreaking. Families devastated by the sickness, children orphaned, and an air of despair hanging over the village. Arya's natural compassion and organizational skills shone through as she coordinated the aid efforts. She worked tirelessly, comforting the sick, distributing food and medicine, and ensuring that the children were cared for. Her presence brought hope to the afflicted villagers, and gradually, the situation began to improve. In the midst of this crisis, Arya discovered a strength and resilience within herself that she never knew existed. She realized that her life's purpose was not a fixed destination, but a series of moments where she could make a difference. The joy she felt in helping others was God's plan manifesting itself through her actions. When Arya returned to Eldoria, she was greeted with admiration and pride. Her grandmother, with tears in her eyes, embraced her tightly. "You see, Arya, God's plan for you has always been there. It just took time and experience to reveal itself." Arya smiled, her heart full. She now understood that every challenge she faced, every act of kindness, and every moment of uncertainty were all parts of a greater plan. She had found her place not by seeking it desperately, but by living with purpose and faith. From that day on, Arya continued to serve her community with unwavering dedication. She knew that God's plan was a living, breathing journey, one that would unfold beautifully as long as she trusted in his guidance and followed the path of compassion and love. And so, in the quiet village of Eldoria, under the watchful eyes of the rolling hills and the shimmering river, Arya lived a life rich with purpose, forever reminding herself and others that God indeed had a plan for each and every one of them. Story 2. In the small town of Willow Creek, there was a young woman named Emily who believed that God had a plan for her life. She had been raised in a devout Christian family and had always found comfort in the idea that everything happened for a reason. As a child, Emily would often spend hours in prayer, asking God to reveal his plan for her. She had dreams of becoming a nurse and helping those in need, but as she grew older, life seemed to throw obstacle after obstacle in her path. After high school, Emily applied to several nursing programs, but was rejected from each one. She was devastated, feeling as though her dreams were slipping away, but she continued to have faith that God had a plan for her, even if she couldn't see it yet. Instead, Emily took a job as a receptionist at a local medical clinic. She worked diligently, always with a smile on her face, and soon her positive attitude caught the eye of the clinic's head nurse. She was offered a chance to shadow the nurses and learn more about the medical field. As Emily immersed herself in her new role, she realized that this was where she was meant to be. She found joy in caring for patients and assisting the nurses in their work. Despite her initial disappointment, Emily knew that God had guided her to this place for a reason. One day, a new doctor joined the clinic, and Emily's life took an unexpected turn. Dr. Thomas was a kind and compassionate man, and he quickly became a mentor to Emily. He encouraged her to pursue her dreams of becoming a nurse, and even offered to write her a letter of recommendation for nursing school. With Dr. Thomas's support, Emily applied to a nursing program and was accepted on her first try. She threw herself into her studies, working tirelessly to achieve her goal. Through the long hours of studying and hard work, Emily never lost sight of the belief that God had a plan for her and that everything was happening as it should. After graduating from nursing school, Emily found a job at a local hospital where she excelled in her role. She touched the lives of countless patients with her care and compassion and knew that she was exactly where she was meant to be. Years passed, and Emily continued to grow in her career, eventually becoming head nurse at the hospital. She married the love of her life, a kind-hearted man who shared her faith and supported her in all her endeavors. Looking back on her journey, Emily knew that every twist and turn had led her to this moment. She had faced setbacks and disappointments, but through it all, she had held on to her belief that God had a plan for her. And in the end, that plan had brought her to a place of fulfillment and joy beyond anything she could have imagined. As Emily sat in her living room, reflecting on her life, she smiled to herself. She knew that she had been guided by a higher power, and that every step of her journey had been part of a divine plan. And she was grateful for every moment, every challenge, and every triumph, knowing that they had all played a part in shaping the person she had become. And as the sun set on another day in Willow Creek, Emily whispered a heartfelt prayer of thanks, knowing that she was exactly where she was meant to be. For God had a plan for her, and she had followed it with faith and trust every step of the way.